Yo, welcome back to the channel, boys and girls. In today's video, we are doing a review on my VeloBuild 177 super lightweight frame set. And if you are new to my channel, my name is Patrick Lino and I am a cyclist here in Chicago who does bike reviews. I build bikes, and if you have been enjoying the content on this channel as of recently, then I want you to please consider subscribing to the idea that I will never stop making eggplant jokes, the same way that a beta male incel will never stop talking about Japanese anime. So without further ado, let's begin. As you guys know, I built up this VeloBuild 177 super lightweight frame set a couple of months ago, and now that the weather here is dry and it's warm, I've finally gotten a chance to really take this bike out on the road and put it through all of my typical paces. And by the way, big thanks to VeloBuild for sending me out this frame to review. So far, I really have been enjoying it. So let's go ahead and get all of the negatives out of the way. In fact, there's really only two negatives, maybe only 1.5. So the first one, and this is the biggest one, is this wheel set. So this wheel set is from VeloBuild. It's a 38mm depth wheel. Of course, they're carbon, they're tubeless compatible, and at the time of this video, the wheels retail for about $350 USD. However, the wheels are extremely heavy. I mean, these wheels are about 1,800 grams for the pair, which is crazy when you consider how shallow of a depth they are. But to be fair, like I said, these wheels are only $350. They're tubeless, they come with standard Novatech hubs, and I respect the fact that what VeloBuild is trying to do here is they're trying to market these towards those who are very conscious of their budget. And if you are going to VeloBuild to buy a frame, then it would make sense that they would also offer a set of wheels, sort of a one-stop shop for your bike build. And so you consider that the frame is about $500 before shipping and PayPal fees, and the wheels are $350. That means you're able to get basically an entire frame set and wheels, including the handlebars, for all under $1,000 USD, which is a really good deal, especially with the fact that the frame set itself is super duper lightweight. And the second issue that I have here is with the headset play. Now, I discussed this before. I mean, I know in some of the forums online they've talked about this. I've mostly been able to rectify the sloppy headset. Basically, I did two things. One is I added an extra spacer on top because I suspect that I didn't cut down the fork low enough for the compression plug to compress everything down. And the second thing that I did was I actually put in a super long compression plug. The standard one that they give you is not long enough, pause, but the one I have now is it's pretty deep, pause. So yeah, for the most part, the play now is finally removed, but it's just something to note, specifically if you are going to order the separate handlebar and stem combo rather than the one-piece integrated handlebar. Now, I do want to give a lot of credit to VeloBuild because over this past year or so, they seem to have really built up sort of this cult following online, especially on the bike forums, and I think that is a testament to their customer service. Shout out to Chris, and the fact that you are able to get a pretty high quality frame at such an affordable price. One of the questions I get asked all the time is, why do I always wear such bright colors and all this high vis stuff? And that's because when you're black as me, you want to make sure you're seen on the streets so that you don't get hit. I really do hope you guys have been enjoying these sort of blog videos and sort of this more casual approach to these reviews, because I gotta say, I really feel like an absolute tool riding around on my bike holding a GoPro in front of my face. I have all these people looking at me all weird saying, who is this guy? Although he's handsome, he looks like a total schmuck. You know, one of the misconceptions about Chicago is that it's some sort of super extremely dangerous city, and honestly, that couldn't be farther from the truth. Sure, it has its crimes and shootings like every other city does here in the United States, but it's not some sort of Iraq or Chirac as people like to call it. But with that being said, today, as soon as I left my house today to make this video, there's a whole bunch of police and helicopters flying around, which probably means that someone got shot. So now that I'm riding, and I just wanted to comment a little bit more on the wheels. So yeah, they are heavy. I'm sure that they're probably pretty bomb-proof because of their weight. And I think just for an everyday training wheel, they're gonna be fine. You're not gonna be getting any sort of KOMs or any personal bests with these wheels, but they are really good for what they are. I mean, $350 for a carbon wheel. I mean, you can spend like $500 or $600 USD for an alloy wheel that will probably perform maybe a little bit better because they're going to be lighter weight. But if you do want carbon and you want to get it from a reputable brand such as VeloBuild, then I would say for $350, they're definitely the way to go. Alrighty, let's do a quick bike check here. So of course we got the VeloBuild 177 here. This is a size, I think this is a size 54. I can't remember. I'll put it on the screen later when I do this edit here. But I have to say that before paint and all of the sort of metal grommet hardware, bottle cages, etc., I suspect that this frame probably weighs just a shy under 1,000 grams, 1 kilogram, which is crazy when you think about the quality and the lightweight frames out there that you can buy for $500 USD. What else we got here? As far as crank here, we are rocking the 5034 crank set here. Now the reason why we're using such a small crank here is because this bike has spent the majority of winter on my trainer, and I want to make sure that because I'm using this bike with the kicker climb, that I like to keep the trainer difficulty at 100%, and so it gives me a big range rather, along with the 1134 whatever this is, cassette out back. It gives me a wide range of gears so that I can keep the difficulty at 100%. Because I'm cheap here, we also have the Shimano 105 long cage derailleur here. These tires here, these are the Vittoria Corsa GP 2.0. I actually don't like these wheels at all. Even though they're cotton and they're fairly puncture resistant, for some reason I just don't feel like they roll as well as my Continental GP 5000s. What else we got here? We also got, of course, my Supacaz Bartape. I love that. Look how much this stuff matches with the paint, man. Look at this blue and purple chameleon paint. It's like, it matches it like perfectly, everything here. Moving up to the cockpit here, we are rocking a 120 millimeter stem. We also have the handlebars here. This is 400 millimeters wide. And like I said, VeloBuild offers 2 options for handlebar. You can get the integrated one-piece handlebar, or you can do what I did here, which is the separate bar combo. And the reason why I did this is because I needed the extra reach. And the integrated stem just didn't, or integrated handlebars rather, didn't have enough reach for me. But all in, the way I have this set up, this is actually probably my most aggressive bike fit, even more so than my LA Sprint, my Windspace, and even my Dangfu. I think the reach on this all in is like, I don't know, 607 millimeters from the end of the saddle all the way to the handlebars. Now today's ride is a super duper recovery ride, very short one, maybe about 45 minutes or so. These next couple of weeks I've been really trying to focus and hone in on this sort of 80-20 training session here, where I'm spending about 80% of my time at zone 2, which for me, zone 2 is about 175 to 200 watts, and then I'll spend the 20% of that time at the upper end of that zones, zone 4, zone 5, etc. And so that means that I'm doing long hours on the road at basically the zone 2 pace, but it still is taxing for you when you get to like hour 2 or hour 3 of doing this ride. Yeah, you start to really feel it on your legs. So that's why recovery rides are very important. They're invaluable, and it's definitely something you should be implementing. And you definitely should not be trying to go all out every single time you're out on the bike. Now, that's not to say that that doesn't work. It does work for some people, but for me, I think I'm gonna try to stick with this 80-20 training session and just see how it goes over the next month or so. Now, as far as power meters, I am rocking a single-sided crank arm based power meter here. This is from 4Eyes. I'll link down below a first look I did on these. But yeah, this power meter so far, it works, it's reliable. It seems to be comparison to my crank-based power meters and my pedal-based power meters as far as the accuracy of the data. And of course, I'm rocking the Look Keo 2 Max pedals. I do like these. They're really good value for like $100. And yeah, and another reason why I wanted to go with the crank arm based power meter is because I wanted to keep the weight of this overall bike down to a minimum. I wanted to kind of keep everything super duper light. Like I said, the wheels are heavy, and I suspect that if you put some higher performing wheels on here, you definitely can get this bike down to maybe 7 or 7.1 kilograms, which would be a killer setup if you live somewhere where you have a lot of hills and a lot of mountains to climb. Now, one thing you might wonder with a bike that is so lightweight is whether or not the frame itself is flexy. And so far, after riding it several hundred miles, I can't really feel any specific flex with the frame. and I also do not feel any flex with the handlebars as well. I know that has been a concern for some people on the forums. Now, I'm not someone who super duper sprints. I think on a good day, I could probably pump out 1100 watts on a sprint. So yeah, that's gonna be enough for the average person where you're not gonna be able to feel any flex. Now, moving on to road quality and all that good stuff like that, I would say, yeah, it's pretty decent. It's not too stiff. It's not too mushy. I would say it's right in the sweet spot. And I think that's what is to be expected for a bike that is more focused on being lightweight than being some super duper aero all out crit machine. But don't get me wrong, I do suspect that if you were to put some deeper depth aero wheels on here, I think that would really transform this bike and take it to the next level. But as is, for under $1,000 for the frame set, the handlebar, and the wheels, it's still a good value for an everyday bike that you can either use for training, and it's definitely going to be better than any of the entry-level bikes from the bigger name brands out there. So who do I think this bike is for, this frame set in particular? It's definitely for someone who does a lot of endurance ride. Maybe you have a primary bike that you don't want to be using every day. I would say this setup with this frame and this wheels would definitely be a good bike for training. Even just for puttering around. I mean, even for the price of this, it's still going to be a higher quality bike than if you were to buy a bike specifically for just puttering around the city. One of the things I really appreciate and like about VeloBuild is that when you're dealing with them, the customer experience, the buying process, all of that, you really feel like you're buying from an actual bike brand and a company versus some of these other direct-to-consumer brands where you feel like they don't really care for you as a customer. They're not going to really help you through the process at all. They're basically just going to take your money, send you a bunch of pieces, and then tell you good luck on the building process. But with VeloBuild, especially with some of the support that they have on the online forums, you feel like you are getting a really good deal and that they actually care about you as a customer. And yes, while I do believe that you should manage your expectations when you're dealing with a frame and wheels for under $1,000, that doesn't mean that a company gets to treat you like crap just because you are spending so little. I think that across the whole entire price spectrum, there should be a good measure of customer service, and especially for us here in the United States, customer service is extremely important. Man, the weather yesterday was like perfect. It was like 70 degrees Fahrenheit here in Chicago, and today it's like 45, and I think it's supposed to rain. So I think because of that, there's like nobody out on the bike path, which means I can be a total jerk and a selfish bum and take up the whole entire bike path just so I can get some of this B-roll footage. So if you only have $1,000 to spend on a frame set, handlebars, and wheels, should you give your hard-earned money to VeloBuild? And to answer that, I'm going to say yes, you should. Now, is this bike going to compete with something like a Windspace? Because I know a few of you guys out there want to know that, and I'm going to say no. The Windspace is a whole different tier versus a VeloBuild. However, VeloBuild is not trying to compete with the likes of Windspace or Seika or any of the higher end Chinese bikes out there. They definitely are good at what they do. They have a really good customer experience, and it would be interesting to see how this bike would perform with a different set of wheels. So maybe I'll go ahead at some point later this year, I'll go ahead and slap on some Hyper 65 wheels and see if that will really transform the characteristics and the dynamics of this frame set. Final thoughts on my VeloBuild 177 super lightweight frame set. When I was doing this review, it was actually a little bit difficult for me, not because there's anything wrong with the frame or that I was worried about upsetting VeloBuild or even some of the followers out there who have this frame, but it's simply because I really don't have anything negative to report about the frame. It's just a really good all-around frame, and especially at the price point being under $1,000 for the frame and the wheels, you really can't go wrong, especially in the Chinese brands out there. Now, I would say that overall this bike is sort of targeted, in my opinion, towards those sort of entry-level bikes that you would expect from the bigger brands out there, and it's going to be a really good jack of all trade bikes. It has the frame to accommodate wheels up to 32C tires, which means that you'll be able to take this bike on all roads and even some of the light gravel roads out there as well. Now, I do think that the biggest Achilles heel going for this frame with VeloBuild is that the wheels are really heavy. But even if you skip out on the wheels and you only just buy the frame and the cockpit, the handlebars, you're still only looking at about $750 USD. So hopefully you can save that money and use that towards higher performing wheels. So all in, guys, yeah, VeloBuild is definitely a brand that you should be looking at in 2022, and being able to also select a custom paint color for your frame really just sweetens the deal. So I'm gonna leave it at that for now, guys, and as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them down below, and I'm gonna check you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.